You have to pay for every belt that you win, there's a sanctioning fee. So now if a fighter wins an interim belt, he has to pay a sanctioning fee. If a fighter has just the regular belt, he has to pay a sanctioning fee. Then if a fighter is a super champion, then he has to pay a sanctioning fee. This is not good for the sport of boxing.
Y'all see them though.
Boxing's biggest star just got hit with a shocking decision. Not even 3 months after Terence "Bud" Crawford accomplished the impossible by beating Canelo Alvarez and becoming the new face of the sport, his title was taken away, and not because someone defeated him. He wasn't knocked out, he wasn't outclassed, he simply refused to pay a massive $300,000 sanctioning fee that the World Boxing Council demanded for him to keep the green belt he had already earned. When Crawford declined, they stripped him immediately. But the real fire in this situation isn't just the money, it's the reaction exploding across the entire boxing world.
I am firmly on Terence Crawford's side on this one. What do they do? Like, someone needs to tell me what they do. Because ultimately, again, the commission do the majority of things in terms of you put a fight in Vegas, it'll be the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they will appoint the judges. I mean, one thing they do, I guess, is that clean boxing program thing with VADA. But I'm pretty sure, and I stand to be corrected, that it's the fighters that pay for that as well. So what do they do, people, that they think that they can just go and take a percentage of a fighter's purse? Nah. And look, the green and gold belt is, obviously it's very prestigious. For me, it's the best belt in boxing. I sometimes kind of battle with that in the Ring magazine belt. But that doesn't mean you can just take the piss. It really doesn't mean you can do whatever you want to do, that you can just make up a percentage, that you can ask for a fighter for a percentage of their purse. No. And all this as well, like, this thing, like, surely before a fight, if you are going to take a percentage, surely that has to be written down, contract, lawyered up. Like, I'm surprised if you, that's why it's even more crazy. It's the wild, wild west. Like, surely if this is the percentage you're going to take from Crawford, it's okay, Crawford, you know, in order to have this undisputed fight, which is very prestigious, this is the percentage we're taking from you. And Crawford signs it off before the fight's even done. In fact, before his purse is even given to him, that percentage is already removed. The fact that you are waiting on Crawford just to pay you, big WBC for me is wild within itself.
While Crawford is tearing through social media and promising to expose everything going on behind the scenes, another dangerous name has stepped in with a response that's cold and straight to the point. Isaac Pitbull Cruz, a fighter who enters the ring like every opponent owes him something, was asked about the situation, and what he said shines a light on the harsh, hidden side of boxing politics that fans are never meant to witness.
Crawford had an issue with the WBC this morning. They stripped him at 168 pounds. He was complaining about sanctioning fees and things like that. Just what are your thoughts on that whole issue?
Bueno, esta opinión de lo que pasó con Terence Crawford por la mañana, que lo dejaron sin el cinturón de la CMB por no pagar la tarifa del cinturón.
Bueno, es algo que se tiene que cumplir, como el protocolo de antidopaje con VADA, pero bueno, él sabrá por qué no quiso pagar.
To understand why Pitbull's response matters, you have to see the level of disrespect Crawford just dealt with, because this wasn't some calm back and forth, it was an all-out fight. On December 3rd, news dropped that the WBC had officially stripped him of his super middleweight title, and Crawford didn't wait for statements or explanations. He jumped straight onto Instagram Live, furious and ready to speak his mind. In a rant that's already going viral, he stared into the camera and delivered a direct message to WBC President Mauricio Suleiman, saying, "Who do you think I am? You'd better slap yourself."
Him $300,000 plus another 100K something for sanction fees, right? Then he gonna tell me I ain't even apologize? Like, who the fuck you think I am? Boy, you better slap your fucking self. Ain't paying your ass shit. Fuck you talking about pay you $300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanctioned bodies? Huh? Answer that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA? Everybody accepted what I was giving them. But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit, the fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free.
Crawford explained that the WBC expected him to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the privilege of holding their belt, and he wasn't having it. He flat out told them, "I'm not paying you anything." He said he offered a reasonable amount, the same kind of fee other groups like the IBF and WBO accepted without a problem, but the WBC wanted far more. When the sport's top fighter refused to give in, they stripped him. And that's where the debate ripping through boxing right now begins. Crawford's main message during his outburst was simple but deadly to the system. We're being taxed.
That don't even make sense. I'm the motherfucker that's putting my life on the line, not you. You ain't stepping your motherfucking ass in that ring. You or nobody else. You or nobody else. So why should I have to pay to carry your belt? You should be paying me. If you want to be truthful, you should be paying me. I don't see it. It irks my nerves how this dude gets on a plane, gets a hotel suite. Him and his buddies, they go out to dinner, 5-star meals, all that, you know, and guess who got to pay for it? Us fighters. We paying for y'all to come out here, have the time of y'all life, stay in the best hotels of y'all life, and it's all done on our dime. It's done on our dime. Do that sound right to y'all? It's crazy, ain't it? We the one out there getting battered, knocked upside our head, and every time we step foot in the ring, we gotta pay them a sanction fee like they the government. We getting taxed. It's crazy.
Think about it. The fighters are the ones putting their lives on the line, taking punches, cutting weight, and risking lasting damage every time they walk into the ring, yet the sanctioning bodies, the people in suits who never get hit, use these huge fees to travel first class, stay in luxury hotels, and enjoy expensive meals on the fighters' money. Crawford called the green belt nothing more than a trophy and reminded everyone that the respected Ring Magazine belt, which represents the true lineal champion, is completely free, a symbol of real greatness, not a bill to be paid. By saying this out loud, Crawford is doing something risky. He's exposing the idea that the Alphabet Belts fans obsess over might actually be nothing more than expensive scams meant to drain fighters' bank accounts.
We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route. No response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great. It's about greatness, and
So where does Pitbull Cruz fit into all this chaos? Cruz is in the middle of his own fight week, getting ready to defend his title against Lamont Roach Jr., and when reporters approached him, they expected him to stand with Crawford or blast the system. Instead, he gave the calmest, most disciplined answer possible. No shouting, no anger. He just looked at the reporter and said, "We have to pay." It was a blunt, realistic reminder of how things work. Cruz said he respects Crawford's stance, but for him and his team, these fees are simply part of the job. He explained that they avoid getting involved in that type of drama. For Cruz, the sanctioning costs are just another challenge, like facing an awkward opponent or dealing with a tough referee. You don't cry about it, you handle it and keep going. This has created a striking divide in boxing. Crawford, the outspoken champion ready to fight the system to protect his money and pride, and Cruz, the focused professional who accepts the rules and marches forward.
Yo, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Because everybody in the world know You was going for Canelo. You was mad that I beat Canelo. It's okay. It happens, you know? But if you a real fan of the sport, you would have, you know, said congratulations instead of having that little smirk on your face, all mad and pouting. But listen though, you should have took the money and you should have been thankful and grateful that I was rocking your belt around as your champion. As your champion, the WBC champion, the undisputed champion at that. But you want to make it about you. You want to say, oh, well, you stripped me. Like, I've been stripped before. The IBF just stripped me when I was at 147. Doesn't matter. I'm still considered the undisputed champion. I'm still the champion in the division. Because you know why? The only belt that's recognizable as the champion is the ring belt, baby. That's the #1 belt in the division. That trumps.
But Crawford's rant went way beyond money. He threw out a serious accusation that points to possible corruption at the top of the WBC, claiming Mauricio Suleiman was upset that he beat Canelo Alvarez. And this is where the double standard becomes impossible to ignore. Canelo held that same WBC belt for 2 years and refused to face his mandatory challenger, David Benavidez, the entire time. The WBC didn't punish him, didn't threaten him, didn't strip him. They let him keep the belt, the spotlight, and the payday. Yet the moment Crawford wins the title and refuses to pay an inflated fee, he's stripped on the spot. Crawford asked the question everyone else is asking: why are the rules different for him? It exposes the idea that these sanctioning bodies aren't unbiased officials. They're businesses protecting their most profitable stars and punishing anyone who won't play by their terms.
Canelo is no longer a belt holder coming into his next fight, a fight that's still expected to make a lot of money due to Canelo's popularity and ongoing contract with Riyadh season. This means that for the first time in 7 years, not a single sanctioning body will benefit from Canelo's earnings. So the sooner Canelo becomes champion again, the better for them. But for the time being, they'll have to rely on Terence Crawford as their sanctioning fee provider. These sanctioning bodies make a lot of money from Canelo being their champion. Like, why did you think there wasn't any pressure coming from them when Benavidez was Canelo's mandatory? It's because if Canelo lost, then they'll have to rely on Benavidez and his $7 million purses. And if they decide to bully and pressure Canelo, and Canelo says, you know what, screw it, and decides to vacate the belt instead, then it's the same thing. They lose the benefit.
Pitbull Cruz didn't just address the fees. In the same interview, he spoke about another issue that shows a darker side of modern boxing: the growing acceptance of cheating. When asked about fellow champion Subriel Matias, who recently tested positive for the banned substance Osterine, Cruz's response was more intense than when discussing fees. He criticized the sport for being too lenient, warning that drug violations are starting to be treated as normal, and called out the system for letting it happen.
Subriel Matias tested positive for Osterine. He's the WBC champion. You guys are fighting for the interim. WBC gave him like a year probation. He's still facing that guy Smith in like a month or so. Just what are your thoughts on that he tested positive and no, they're not taking the belt. Doesn't seem to be really facing any consequences. What's your thoughts on that?
Bueno, ¿qué opinas de la falta de consecuencias ante la situación de Subriel Matías, que dio positivo de Ostarina? La Comisión Mundial de Boxeo le dio un probation de un año, pero más allá de eso, él sigue peleando dentro de un mes, no parece que pasa nada. ¿Qué opinas?
Pues es algo que ya no se vuelve limpio y creo que deben de tomar cartas en el asunto para ya ser más estrictos en esa parte, porque al final del día se está convirtiendo ya algo normal que cualquier boxeador lo esté haciendo. Igual con Jenny Beck ya salió igual con la misma o probablemente con la misma dosis, entonces ya tiene que haber alguna sanción más fuerte y ya no debe de haber ningún tipo de porcentaje de tolerancia.
Connect the dots. On one side, the sport strips a legendary champion like Crawford instantly over a money dispute. On the other, fighters test positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and the response is often slow and buried in bureaucracy. Cruz demands zero tolerance for doping because it genuinely harms athletes, yet the sanctioning bodies show their real priorities by punishing late payments immediately. It's clear where their focus lies, not on protecting fighters, but on protecting their profits.
It's free! How you love that? $180,000 free. How much your belt cost? I wonder, how much your belt cost? Huh? I don't see no receipts on your belt. It's crazy. Y'all be having so much taxes on these belts. You got some nerves. It's crazy that you can sit up there and have all these belts. You know, you got the WBC silver, the WBA intern, the whatever belt y'all got, and you taxing these fighters every time they fight, and you claim that you for these fighters. You're not for these fighters. You probably worse than the promoters. But hey, I wish you the best, you know? I wish you the best, you and your company.
So what's next? The WBC has tried to move quickly, ordering a fight between Hamza Shiraz and Christian Imolai to claim the vacant title. They want a new champion crowned fast, hoping everyone forgets that the real champion is still undefeated. But even that plan is hitting roadblocks. Reports show negotiations for the Shiraz versus Imolai fight are already stalling. The belt is stuck in limbo and has lost its prestige. By stripping Crawford, the WBC didn't damage his legacy, they damaged their own. Anyone who eventually takes that green belt won't have earned it in the ring. They'll have simply paid the fee that Crawford refused to pay.
A very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route. No response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, is great. It's about greatness.
Now, Terence Crawford has drawn a clear line, showing that he doesn't need a sanctioning body to prove his greatness. Isaac Cruz, on the other hand, represents the harsh reality. To survive in boxing, sometimes you just have to pay the fee. This raises a question that could reshape the sport's future. If fans already know who the best fighter is and the Ring magazine belt costs nothing, why do we still let these organizations charge millions for a piece of green leather? Crawford just proved he's willing to walk away, and if more fighters follow his lead, the entire system could be at risk of collapse.
BC Mauricio Suleiman does have a point, because historically it's always been 3%. That's what the fighters play, and that is what it is, and that's what it's always been. Obviously, a fight of this magnitude, which was being billed as Fighters of the Century, $50 million allegedly he got paid for that one. They don't want to take 3% off him. They said let's do 0.6%, which is $300,000. So I understand it, and that's just the way the system is. Don't tell me he's not paid the WBC sanction fees before, because he must have. But now what he's saying is, I don't want to pay that because I want to, the Ring magazine are the ones that have got it right. The Ring magazine obviously is one of the most historic belts and is considered the number one of the 4-belt era, the Ring magazine, but they don't charge. So that's where he's at, and that's the point he's making. But then how did the WBC then make their money if they don't make commissions off? It's like everyone charges for everything. All the other sanctioning bodies would have charged him as well, whatever that was. So
it would appear to me that if there's 5 sanctioning bodies, which would have been the WBC, WBA, the IBF, the WBO, and the Ring magazine, that's why it's 0.6%. Because if you divide 3% by 5, you get 0.6%. I have very little respect for the WBC and the way they operate. I have very little respect for Mauricio Suleiman. I think they're a hypocritical, disingenuous organisation. But I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with what he said there. And if it is indeed the deployment of those funds go to the well-being of fighters, we can't have an industry that constantly talks about the need to look after its own, and then when it gets to the top end of the tree, the top end.
So, what do you think? Was Crawford right to refuse the $300,000 and walk away from the belt, or should he have paid the fee to preserve history? That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our upcoming content. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next video.